Hello everyone. So welcome to this webinar on tackling permutation and combination with ease. I'm Piyush and I'm gonna be your main host today. But we are yet to it's 2 minutes to go for the webinar start. Just let's wait for a few more minutes before we can get started with our session. Okay, guys. So just be with me here. Good evening, good afternoon, based on wherever you are. A warm welcome to this webinar on permutation and combination questions. So, before I proceed, I would like to know if all of you can hear me loud and clear in this webinar. Okay, so please respond to this poll if you can hear me loud and clear. You should be seeing the poll right now on your screens. So if you can hear me loud and clear, my voice is audible to you, please select a yes so that I know that we are good to proceed. Okay, so still have 1 minute left for the webinar to start, and I can see that most of you can hear me loud and clear, which is great. So I believe few of you who are having the voice issues, it could be a local issue at your end. So you can try rejoining in case that happens with you. That sometimes helps. All right. So with that, let's get started with this webinar. So warm welcome to everyone. This topic is a really interesting and a very complex topic that we are going to take up today. But trust me, guys, after this webinar, even if you are afraid of permutation and combination questions, that's not going to be the case anymore. Okay, we are going to slice and dice permutation and combination questions, starting from the very basics to the advanced level questions, and make sure that you understand how to tackle them on the GMAT. Okay, and that's the main agenda for the session. Okay, so Pranika, I'm going to talk about all of that. Don't worry about that. So I'm Piyush and I'm the main host of this webinar. For those of you who don't know me, I'll give you a quick introduction about myself. I have been in the education industry for approximately 8 years. So last 8 years, I have helped thousands of students get into their dream schools across the globe. I have taken the GMAT myself with a 740 and a Quant 50. I have taken CAT where I've scored a 99.9 percentile on Quant. And why am I talking about all these things? The reason for that is I remember my old school days when I was a kid. I learned permutation and combination for the first time. And trust me, guys, it was a nightmare for me. It was the most difficult thing that I learned in mathematics, probably. Okay, except for those calculus and fancy things. But when I prepared for all this tests myself, I could understand and realize that how simple permutation and combination can be if you approach it logically. Okay, so I'm going to talk about all my secrets, all the things which I learned in this webinar today. So let me quickly tell you what is the structure of this webinar. So basically, there are 3 sections to this webinar. Very quickly, in the first session, we will talk about ourselves. I'll just take a couple of minutes because I want to make sure that I spend maximum time on the second part of the webinar where we are going to talk about permutation and combination. And we're going to spend approximately 100 minutes over there, approximately very close to 2 hours actually. Okay, and in the end, I'll open this session for an open-ended Q&A. So if you have any questions regarding your GMAT strategy or your quant or anything, feel free to ask me at that point of time. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Okay, so let's get started without any further ado. So very quickly about GMAT Viz. So what is GMAT Viz? GMAT Viz is basically world's only truly personalized GMAT prep course. And I use this word truly because a lot of people say that they personalize their learning, but we actually do that in real time. So what is GMAT Viz offering you is basically a very standardized, very exhaustive course that comes with a personalized study plan. So you don't need to worry about your studies, when to study, on which day you have to do something. Everything is taken care of by our artificial intelligence driven portal, and it automatically aligns things on basis of its strengths and weaknesses. Not just that, the plan adapts in real time and you get access to real-time improvement modules on the fly. So if you're not doing well on something, the plan will automatically identify your strengths and weaknesses and customize your course in real time. Okay, and we believe that even if artificial intelligence is there in the system and everything is provided, you there is a human intervention required. So if you end up taking the complete GMAT Viz package, which is the quant plus verbal package, you also get access to dedicated mentors who will help you monitor your progress and improve on that front. Okay, and that's one of the biggest reasons why we are GMAT Club's most effective course in terms of average score improvement. And this data is based on GMAT Club verified reviews. Our average score improvement is around 117 points, whereas you can see the average improvement of some of our other companies which are out there. Okay, again, this was very quickly about us, what we do at GMAT Viz. Now I'm going to move to the main part of the webinar. And before I get to this part, I really like this way of starting a new topic. So permutation and combination is a complex topic, and I'm sure like all of us will agree with that. I can ask you a poll, but I don't want to waste it because I'm sure all of you will agree with that. Now, why is it complex? Okay, if I go back and think about my school days, like what are the problems that I used to face, there are some common confusions in permutation and combination that I faced as a student. But before I talk about them, I would like to hear from you, because again, I want to understand what are the confusions or problems that you are facing as a student today, so that I'm able to cater to them as well. So in the chat here, feel free to write, what do you think is the biggest confusion, or what are the key confusions? 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it comes to your mind. Tell me, what is the biggest problem that you face when you're solving permutation combination questions? Okay. And I'm looking forward to your responses, guys. Let's make the session very interactive. I'm going to start from the very basics. I'm going to teach you a very, very logical method of solving questions. But I would like to hear from you. What are the problems that you face while solving permutation combination questions? Okay, Ajeta has an interesting question. She says, I miss cases. Okay, you miss making cases. Very good. This is one of the, not very good, but yeah, this is one of the most common problem. Okay, Vipin says it's confusing, but why is it confusing? Okay, Sambhavisha has a question, answer. When to choose permutation and when to choose combination. Okay, Vikram also misses out on the cases. Okay, Sam says, I struggle with the application, like when to sum and when to product. I don't know, I got confused. Good point. Okay, Ritik says, don't know how to solve the question logically instead of NPR or NCR. Good, Ritik, you're in the right place. That's what we are going to discuss today. Okay. Devnita says, don't know when to use such formulas. Okay, Nipun also says similar thing. Akshi, Rajdeep, almost. Sudipta says, I avoided this topic in my school days. It's totally confusing. I can totally relate with you, Sudipta. I was very similar to your case. I really hated permutation combination in my school days. Okay. Ajay has an interesting answer. He says, everything is problem in permutation and combination. And trust me, guys, this is a very common thing. When I see people like and talk to students who prepare for quant, they often ignore permutations and combinations. They say that, okay, there are going to be 2 or 3 questions which might come on permutation and combinations on the test, but it requires so much energy and effort that I'm planning to ignore it. Now, is it a good idea to ignore permutation and combination on GMAT? Probably no. If you're targeting anything around a 47 or more on quant, you should not do that. Because if you're targeting a high score in quant, you need to get a high accuracy in the first 15 questions. That's very, very, very critical. Okay. And you don't have any control over what kind of questions will come in the first 15. So you might as well get a question from permutation and combination, or maybe 2 questions. What do you do in that case? You will struggle with them. And if you struggle with them, the algorithm will reduce the overall difficulty level. Okay, and that will significantly impact your performance on the test. So I always recommend that you should not at all avoid permutation and combination. At least be at a level where you can solve the easy and medium questions. Do it at least till that level, even if you are not able to solve the hard ones. Okay, so please make sure, keep that in mind. And this webinar is going to help you understand how to solve all sort of easy and medium questions on permutation and combination, and not just them. We'll take up some really difficult questions which will throw you off maybe when you look at it for the first time, but when you look at the explanation, it will be much more simpler for you. Okay, so without any further ado, let's look at what the common confusions that I feel students have, and most of it is common with what you said. Number 1, first confusion is when to use permutation and when to use combination. All of us know 2 formulas, NPR, NCR. How do I go about using them? It's so confusing at all the time. Second problem, when to add versus when to multiply. That's another problem that students face. And this problem becomes even more significant when you move to probability, which is a very related concept. Okay, so this is the second problem that students face. And the third problem, which is most of you are not able to talk about it, but you're saying, okay, considering cases and all of it, is a lot about double counting, or basically arrangements, considering arrangements in the right way so that you are not counting things multiple times. And this is a slightly advanced concept. Let me tell you, I'm gonna cover it later on in the session. Okay, this is gonna be covered later on, but before moving forward, let's get rid of the first two confusions. Okay, now what is the best solution for the first problem? So Dipanjan has a few points. Thank you so much for Dipanjan for chiming in and sharing your thoughts. But let me tell you, the solution to the first problem is do not use permutation or combination at all. Okay, I know I might sound a little weird here when I say, okay, you have to solve a permutation combination question, and I'm telling you not to use permutation and combination, neither permutation nor combination. Yes, my friends, it is possible to do that. Just by counting, you can still solve permutation combination questions with ease. There is gonna be no issues in doing that if you know how to count properly. Okay, and all of us know how to count. That's the best part. And that's why I love permutation combination now, because it's all logical. All you have to do is count things properly. And trust me, guys, more than half of the session today is dedicated to just counting. Okay, so that's something which is very, very simple. Vikram is asking, you mean fundamental principle of counting? Yes, Vikram, that's all we are going to do. Just count things down. That's all. Okay, and that's how we are going to solve permutation combination questions. Okay, so be with me, stay here. So first problem, we are going to solve it in live in action. But let's look at the second confusion also. How do you avoid the second confusion? So Dipanjan here shared a very important thought, and I'm going to talk about that through a visual example. Okay, so let's take a scenario that I want to travel from a point X to point Y. Okay, let's say someone wants to travel from point X to point Y. It's the start point and Y is the destination. Okay, and let's say they have an option of traveling from X to A. There is another destination. There is another point in between. So to reach from X to Y, they can travel via A. Okay, and what I'm trying to show here is there is one way to go from X to A. Okay, there's one path which is available, whereas there are 4 different paths available from A to Y. Okay, so quickly in the chat here, guys, if I have to go from X to Y via A, I've shown you the answer, but I'll come to another case. So if I have to go from X to Y via A, there are basically 4 routes. Okay, I can travel from X to A. There's only one route there, but after that there are 4 different routes which are available. So there is path 1, path 2, path 3, path 4. I can take any one of them. So basically there are 4 ways to go from X to Y via A. Okay, let's talk about another path. There is, let's say, another path that exists between X and Y. Let's say that goes via B. Now in this case, from X to B I can go via 2 paths. Okay, and from B to Y I can go via 3 paths. So quickly in the chat here, tell me, like, in how many ways can I go from X to Y via B? Okay, just focus on B. I'm saying from X to Y via B, how many ways can I do it? Okay, can you type it in the chat here? Let me see, guys. Let me see what you say. Sandeep, mind my question. I'm not asking from X to Y. I'm saying X to Y via B. Okay, good. Really happy to see. It's very simple, right? 6 paths, total 6 paths. Why 6 paths? Because I have 2 ways to go from X to B, and then there are 3 ways to go from B to Y. Okay, so if I take this path, let's say this path number, let's call it path number 1. Okay, then I can take this way, or this way. So there are 3 ways in which I can reach using the first path. Using the second path also, there are 3 different ways. Okay, so total of 6 ways exist, or you can simply say this is 2 multiplied by 3. All right, so again, I'm not going to ask this question. All of us will probably answer this. So all in all, if I have to go from X to Y, I can do so in 10 different ways. Okay, Simple question, simple example, very easy to understand. Okay, now let's try and use this example to identify when can you multiply and when should you actually add things. Okay, so let's break it down. So when I'm going from x to y via a, what I'm doing is I'm going from x to a first, right? That's my first step. And then I'm going from a to y. So I'm going from x to a and I'm going from a to y. Focus on the and here. And since there is an and in between, I'm actually multiplying the total number of ways. Okay. See, from x to a, I have one way of going. From a to y, I have four different ways. So since there is an and in between, I am simply multiplying this one by 4. Okay. Similarly, when I'm going from x to y, what I'm actually doing is I'm going from x to b and then I'm going from b to y. Okay, so there are two ways of going from x to b and there are three ways of going from b to y. So what I'm actually doing is I'm inherently doing 2 multiplied by 3. So what I've done is I've simply replaced and with the sign of multiplication. Okay, now when I say that I have to go from x to y, what I'm actually doing, I'm doing a very simple thing. I'm saying either the first case can happen or the second case can happen. So I'm using the or in between these two cases. Okay, I'm just using word problems. You just have to speak it out in English. I'm going from x to y via a, or I'm going to from x to y via b. And be with me, guys. I'm going slow here because I want you to understand this part. Okay, so that's where you replace or with the plus sign. That's why we are adding things. We are just adding 4 plus 6, which basically becomes 10. Okay, so Sanjay is saying the sum of all parts is 10. Coincidence or always true? Not really, Sanjay. It's not gonna be true always. This is a coincidence, so don't take those. That is just a coincidence. So don't worry about that. Okay, what you need to do is, so whenever you're confused between whether to add or to multiply, simply ask the same question, repeat it in English, plain simple language. Okay, use and or while doing that. Wherever you see an and, replace it with multiplication. Wherever you see a or, replace it with addition. Okay, so tell me, guys, very quickly, are you clear now? Are you confident now that when should you add versus when should you multiply? Is that clear to you? Quick poll, guys. Is that clear to all of you? Okay, let me see the results. All right, guys. So this is really, really interesting. I see that everyone is clear with that. Great. So keep this as a learning, and I'm going to reinforce that learning. Don't worry. I'm going to reinforce this learning again and again throughout the session. Okay. So let's start with the second thing. Okay. I made a big claim that we are going to now talk about, we are going to solve permutation combination by just counting. And trust me, my friends, if you don't want me to use the word letters P and C and PR and NCR in the entire session, I can still run through everything without doing that. Okay, that is possible. So let's understand how to count things. Okay, now to do so, I'm going to take a very simple example, very, very simple example. So let's say, and take a moment to read this. How many 4-digit numbers can be formed using the numbers 1, 3, 6, 8, or 9? Okay, so I have 5 digits, 1, 3, 6, 8, or 9, and I'm supposed to create 4-digit numbers using this. Okay, now there are two cases which are basically possible here. Again, I'll talk about what is the actual case here. So in permutation combination like questions, you have this concept of repetition without repetition, both things. If I look at this question, can you guys tell me which category does it belong in? Like, is it, let me actually ask a quick poll over here. So just hold on, don't type your answers in the chat, and tell me, think about it. Do we have to consider repetition here or not? Let me have this poll up in a second with you guys. Okay, quickly. Do we have to consider repetition here? Yes, no? Okay, interesting. Cool. Cool, guys. I see most of your responses are there. So let me end the poll now. So most of you are saying it is with repetition. Good. And that's the case, actually. See, if I have to frame the same question for without repetition, this is how I will write it. Okay, you have to see in word this is at the end of the day a word problem. You have to understand the meaning also to understand whether repetition is allowed or not. Okay, so in this case, if I phrase the question like this, how many 4-digit numbers with distinct digits? What does it mean? The focus is on distinct digits. The 4-digit number should have the digits as distinct, so those should not have the same digits. So for example, I cannot have 1 twice. All the distinct digits have to be distinct. Can be formed using the digits 1, 3, 6, 8, 9. In that case, it basically means it's a without repetition question. But worded as is, I would consider this as a repetition question. You can actually go for repetition in this case. Okay, so quick yes no, guys. I just want to make sure this is a very important learning that all of you are clear with this. Quick yes no, guys. Quick yes no here. Cool. So really happy to see your responses. So remember, this is a very common mistake that people do. They don't understand when to use repetition, when not to use repetition. Sometimes the question can very clearly tell you that repetition is allowed, repetition is not allowed. But in other cases, it may not tell you it that clearly. It may not be that explicit. It will be implicit. So for example, right now, in this case, I see some people are not clear. So right now, in this case, it is very clearly mentioned that the numbers are distinct, the digits are distinct. Okay, so we know that it is without repetition in the first case. Okay, in this case I'm talking about. In the second case, there is repetition allowed. Okay, so that's something which is which you have to understand. All right, so let's now use counting, and I'm gonna solve both the cases for sake of simplicity. Okay, so let's first start with the first case. So what I have to do is I have to understand what is that I have to frame. I have to create a 4-digit number. Now, so what I do is, this is something called a filling spaces method. So you create 4 digits, okay, 4 spaces. I have to fill 4 spaces, okay. I'm just counting right now. I'm not using any formulas, okay. And how many numbers do I have? I have 1, 3, 6, 8, and 9. I have this 5 numbers available with me, right? I believe all of you are with me. Okay, good. So I have 5 numbers available with me. I have to fill 4 spaces using these 5 numbers. Now, how do I do that? You take up any place if you want to. Let's say if I want to start from the first place, okay, if I want to start from here, how many ways can I fill this place? How many options do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. I can choose any of these 5 numbers. So I can fill this place in 5 different ways. Okay, is that easy to understand? Clear with you guys? Again, this is a very basic concept. I know I'm stressing on this. Very quick yes no. All of you are clear with this? I have 5 different ways of filling this position. I have 5 numbers, 1, 3, 6, 8, 9. Simple. Okay. Now it's very important to understand this because everything relies on this later on. We are going to solve very difficult questions as well. All right, cool. I see that all of you are clear with that. So great. Okay, so I basically have 5 different options of doing so. So let me place one number here. Let me say that, okay, I have placed one number 3 over here. Now, since repetition is not allowed and I'm placing 3, I have to cross it. I don't have it available for the later cases. So if I have to fill the next place, I have 4 options of doing it. I have 1 available with me, 6 available with me, 8 available, and 9 available. So I have 4 ways of filling the next place. Okay. And if I say that I kind of use 9 to fill it, let's say, let's assume that I use 9. I can take up any other number. Then for the third place, I have how many options available? 1, 6, and 8. So I have 3 options available. Similarly, if I use, let's say, 6 over here, and then I will be left with 2 options for the last place. Okay. Is that clear to all of you guys? I just want to make sure that this is clear to all of you. Quickly, yes, no? Great. Again, Dipanjan is saying it's too easy. Yes, it is too easy, Dipanjan, and that's the whole point. Permutation combination is very easy if you rely on counting. It becomes so simple. Great, guys. Great. So I'm happy to see that everyone is clear with that. Okay, so now the next question comes. Should I add all these numbers, or should I multiply all these numbers? Should I add all these numbers or multiply all these numbers? And the answer is very simple. I have to multiply on these numbers. Why do I have to multiply? Because in order to create a 4-digit number, I have to fill the first digit, I have to fill the second digit. So I have to fill the first digit and the second digit and the third digit and the fourth digit. I cannot say that I have to fill the first digit or the second digit. That's not how a 4-digit number will be created. It can only be created if I use AND. Okay, and since I'm using AND, I will have to multiply all these cases. So my answer in this case is gonna be 120. Okay, so with this learning, let's quickly solve the question with repetition. Okay, quickly, 4 places again, and let me use these numbers once again. I have this 6 numbers available with me: 1, 3, 6, 8, 9. Now what changes here? Okay, I can start with any number, any place. I don't have to start from the place on the left always. I can even start with the place on the right, wherever you want. For the first place, I have 5 options. Okay, but even if I place a 6 over here or any other number, I don't have to cross that number, simply because I'm allowed to repeat things. Okay, so this is going to be much more easier. I'm still left with 5 numbers for the next place. I'm still left with 5 numbers for the next place. I'm still left with 5 numbers for the next place. So it's a cakewalk. Okay, so this is nothing but 5 to the power 4 or 625 different ways of doing it. All right, so I'm hoping everyone is clear with this, and I'm really happy to see your responses in the chat. I had to turn it private because some people were writing the answers, so I don't want to do that. So I'm really happy to see your responses, guys. Okay, so let's move. Let me allow you to solve a question. Okay, so this is going to be a first question, and I'm going to give you just 1 minute maximum to solve it. Very simple question. Use the counting method. I just want to make sure that you have learned it properly. Okay, so here you go. And please answer in the poll, not on the chat. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, 10 more seconds before I end the poll. All right, so I'm ending the poll now, and you can see the results on your screen. I was about to say that I'm very happy to see the results. There's just one person who has marked B as the answer, but 98% of you have got it right. Okay, so Ankita, don't worry. I understand you got disconnected. I'm gonna talk about the concept. Don't worry about that, because we are solving every question. So very quickly, we'll solve this question. So filling spaces method, we need to create a 4-digit number. So let's make 4 digits, 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many numbers do we have? 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8. So we have 6 options, and it very clearly says that repetition is not allowed. Okay, so if repetition is not allowed, in that case, we can use a number only once. Okay, so we have 6 ways of filling the first place. If I take up any number, let's say I take up 2, then I don't have 2 available again. So I have 5 ways of filling the next space. If I take up 7, I just have 4 ways of filling the next space, and then I have just 3 ways of filling the next space. So if you multiply all of it, you will get to your answer, which is 360. Okay, so this is the right answer, and I'm happy to see that most of you got it right. Okay, so Really good, really happy, guys, and I'll I'll feel that the session is successful if you are getting the right answer always. But even if you get the wrong answer, please make sure that you're taking up learnings, because learnings is what you will take you to the next level. So one person, I believe, marked the answer as option B, and the one person who marked the answer as option B did not focus on the word repetition is not allowed. Because if you do not focus on that, you will probably do it as 6 into 6 into 6 into 6, which turns out to be 1296. Okay, so remember, permutation combination is not just about your quantitative understanding, it's also about how carefully are you reading the question. Okay, so remember, guys, this there are going to be 14 questions that I'm going to solve in this session, and there are going to be 750 level questions as well. I'm just getting started. This is just the warm up, but make sure you are with me. Okay, so I have a question from Ritvik. Do we have this much time to think of to make these blanks and then apply counting in real exam? Ritvik, yes, trust me. We can use this like create this blanks and everything and solve it in 10 seconds or so. You don't need more time than that. Trust me, I am explaining it to you, that's why it's taking a little more time. Okay, so remember, it's very simple, very easy. So let's quickly move to the second question. Okay, and before we move to the second question, let's bring in something which is there in every permutation combination question, and that's it. That is constraints. Okay, so Shivani, we are solving 14 questions in this session, 14 or 15 approximately. We've just solved one of them. All right, so let's bring in the constraints. Now, what are constraints? So till now, we had no constraints whatsoever. It's like we have to create a 4-digit number. There are certain digits which are available. We use it in whichever way you want. Okay, you can start from the first place, you can start from the last place, you can start from anywhere. But what happens if constraints come into picture? You always need to take care of the constraints first. Okay, whenever you see a constraint, you have to understand where the constraint is applicable, and you have to take care of that place first. Okay, so we'll learn this concept through a question. So very quickly, I want you guys to solve this question from me and mark your answers in the board. And again, I'm going to give you around 1 minute, maximum 1 minute, 10 seconds to do it. So all the best. All right, guys, 10 more seconds before I end the poll. All right, so let me end the poll here. Okay, so good, guys. So I see that most of you marked choice B as the answer. A good number of you went for D as well, and few of you marked A, and a few of you also marked C and D. Okay, so it's all over the place. B is the most common one, and B is in fact indeed the correct answer. Okay, so what we have to understand in this case is, first we need to read the question and draw the right inferences. Let's read it. And Dipanjan has a very interesting question. He says, isn't it the same one as the earlier without repetition? No, Dipanjan, that's where you probably missed a very key thing. Okay, every word is important, and Sanjay has talked about it. I did not notice even number. Let's read it. How many distinct 4-digit even numbers? You have to focus on this part. This is very critical. All of you who marked D as the answer missed this word. Okay, so it's a word problem. Be very careful about these tiny words. It can make a huge difference. Okay, and that's the constraint that we are looking at. We are not just talking about any number. We're talking about four-digit numbers that are even. Okay, can be formed using the digits. The digits are same 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 if no digit occur in the number more than once. Okay, so this part tells us that repetition is not allowed. Okay, so that's something which is clear from this part. So we know that there is a constraint. Okay, so Pratik has a very interesting point. He says it is one of the case from the last one, so its answer should be less than 360. Good, Pratik. That's very logical way of thinking about it. But it still leaves you with three choices. But that can help you in some cases, definitely. And we're going to talk about more logical ways as well as we move along. Okay, so let's solve this. So we know we have to fill four spaces. So let's draw four spaces, and we have a constraint. Okay, we have a constraint that this number has to be even. Now, when is a number even? Even number should be basically divisible by 2. Okay, and when is a number divisible by 2? Can you guys tell me? I know most of you will know it, but just to make sure that everyone is clear with that, when is a number divisible by 2? How do we know that a number is divisible by 2? Quickly in the chat. Okay, all right, last digit is even. Good. Last digit is a factor, not a factor of 2, it's a multiple of 2, I guess you meant that, Sanjay. Okay, good. When the last number is even. Good. The last number has to be even. Good, Weber. So every one of you is right. Now, so we have to understand that the last number is even. We have to make sure that. Okay, so in this case we should start filling from the last space. Okay, so out of these numbers 1, 2, 4, 5, 7 and 8, I only have 3 options which can fit in the last place. So I can either place a 2 or place a 4 or place a 8. Okay, so I have 3 ways of filling the last number. Okay, so I have 3 ways of filling the last number. But if, let's say, I place one of these numbers here, so let's say I have placed 2 here. In that case, I don't have 2 available anymore. Okay, because repetition is not allowed. So in how many ways can I fill the other digits? I can fill the digit before it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways. I can fill, so let's say I use 5 for it. Okay, I can fill the second place in 4 ways. Let's say I use 1 for it, and I can fill the first place using 3 ways. Okay, so total number of ways in which I can fill this is 3 into 4 into 5 into 3. And why am I multiplying it? Very simply because it has to be and. Okay, I have to fill all the places. That's why we're multiplying. And my answer in this case is gonna be 180. Okay, so that's what is supposed to be done. Now, a good number of you went for option D. Okay, so we know that B is the correct answer. What is wrong with D? People who went for D did not read the question properly. Okay, so the problem with you was not mathematical, it is more about attention. Remember, I always tell my students, don't try to cut corners when you're reading the question. If you don't read the question properly, you haven't understood what is tested and you might make a lot of mistakes. So don't do that. That's very critical. Okay, so that was the biggest mistake done by most of you. Now, the second mistake, which was done by a good number of you, was not a good number, a couple of you maybe marked A as the answer. Okay, now, why did someone mark A as the answer? The reason was very simple. You probably tried to use a formula of maybe combination. So what you did was you probably thought that, okay, last place can be filled in 3 ways. Okay, and for the rest of the places, I have to pick 3 numbers from 5 numbers which are available. So you did 5C3 and you multiplied it by 3. But what you did not consider is when you're doing C3, you are not taking into account arrangements. Okay, and that's where you probably missed it. Again, I'm just using the word C and P to make sure to make it easy for people who are using the formulas to understand where they made a mistake. But trust me, guys, to solve the question, we don't need P or C. Remember, okay? Quickly, again, Nandini wants me to explain one more time. So Nandini, I'm doing it very quickly because I believe most of the people are okay with it. So I'm sharing this with you once again. I know that I have to make it an even number. I know that an even number is basically ending in a even number. Okay, last digit has to be even. So there are three options, 2, 4, or 8, which I can fill the last digit with. So there are three options for the last digit. Okay, if I, let's say, use any one of them, let's say I use 2, so I am left with 5 options for this place. If I use 5 for it, I'm left with 4 options for this place and 3 options for this place, so on and so forth. So that's how we get to the answer, which is 180. Okay, cool, guys. Rajdeep has a very interesting point. Rajdeep, I will you so Rajdeep says my approach was, in the last question total cases was 360. Now obviously there will be even and odd numbers alternatively, so 180 odds and 180 evens can be possible. So Rajdeep, you're right in this case, but there's another important point that you have to take into account. Okay, in this case there are equal number of even numbers, 2, 4, and 8, and equal number of odd numbers, 1, 5, and 7. That's why dividing by 2 will work. Okay, in every case it won't work, so just make sure you are conscious about it. So I would request you to use these shortcuts only when you are very sure about it. Otherwise it is always better to solve it using the right methods. Okay, that's something which I recommend, but it's a smart way of doing it, no doubt about that. So thank you so much. Let's apply this learning. So what is the learning that we had here? Whenever you find a constraint in a question, you have to take care of the constraint first. So we know that the constraint in this question was on the last digit. So we took care of the last digit first. Okay, that's very important. Okay, so let's move to the next question. And again, I'm going to give you a 1.5 minutes. Very similar question, just to strengthen your conceptual understanding. Okay, and make sure you read it properly and answer it. All right, I see a couple of people saying that I'm not audible, so I'm basically ending this poll once. So sorry, guys. Just want to make sure that all of you can hear me loud and clear. Please tell me yes, no, guys. If all of you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, my voice seems fine. Shakib is saying that to me. Let me see for other people also. Okay, great. My voice is fine. So let's go back. Let's quickly solve this question, guys. So 1.5 minutes you have. All the best. All right, 10 more seconds, guys, before I end the poll. And I would recommend you to please not answer the question in the chat. Okay, please don't do that. Dipanjan in particular. So please don't do that, because others are also solving it. So I would request not to answer in the chat. Please respond in the poll. Thank you so much. Okay, so let me end it now. So I'm really happy to see your accuracy, and I see that most of you have actually picked up the learning from the last question. Okay, so really good, guys. So basically that is, I see that most of you have marked B, which is indeed the correct answer. So let's solve this question. Let's solve this question quickly. And as I said, we are going to look at the logical explanation of it first. Okay, so if repetition of digits is not allowed, so we already know that repetition of digits is not allowed. Okay, that's a good thing. So there it is without repetition. How many distinct 4-digit numbers? So I'm going to form 4-digit numbers. Okay, can be formed using the digits 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 0. Okay, so I have this time I have more digits to place. I have all these numbers with me, and I have to create a 4-digit number. Now, let me quickly ask you a question, and please respond in the chat now. I want to understand. Tell me, are there any constraints in this question? Are there any constraints in this question? Quickly. And Vikram has hit the bullseye. Good point, Vikram. Are there any constraints? And if yes, like what's the constraint? I would love to hear from you. Ritik says yes, there is a constraint. Okay, what is the constraint? Good. Sam says 0 cannot be at the first place. 0 cannot be at the first place. Good, good guys. Really happy to see it, and that's why most of you got the question right. So really, really good. Again, remember, we are talking about creating a 4-digit number. Okay, so it has to be a 4-digit number. What it means is, and there is a 0 also which is available. Now, if I place 0 at the first place, then whatever I do, I write 4, 2, 4, or 5, or whatever other numbers I kind of try to create, it will be considered as a 3-digit number and not a 4-digit number. So in this case, there is a constraint, but it is on the first place. Okay, so now we have understood that the constraint is on the first place. So we will first fill this first place. Okay, let's fill this first. Now, how many ways I have of doing so? I can use any of these 6 digits to do that. So I can fill it in 6 ways. Okay, let's use 5 to do that. Okay, if I use 5 and place it here, then for the second place, how many options do I have? For the second place, I still have 6 options because 0 was not available earlier, but 0 has become available now. I couldn't use 0 in the first place, but I can use it in the second place. There's no harm in that. So for the second place, I have 6 options. If I, let's say, use 0 itself, I have 5 options for the next place and 4 options for next place. Okay. So very quickly, I multiply all this, and my answer is 720. Okay. So simple enough question. 720 is the answer. Most of you got it right. So really good job, guys. Now, those of you who did not, there are 50%, 15% people, around 15 people in the batch who actually marked C as the correct answer. Now, those of you who marked C as the correct answer did not consider 0. Okay, you did not consider that 0 cannot be in the first place. What you did was you simply did 7 into 6 into 5 into 4, and you got 840 as the answer. So you missed this point that it has to be a 4-digit number, and you have a 0 here which cannot be placed in the first place. Okay, so remember, there are some cases in which you have implicit constraints. So please make sure that you have to understand the entire question, understand the constraints which are not explicitly as well as implicitly written. So you have to think of both the cases. Okay. Vikram has an interesting question. He says, I came across an interesting variation of a similar question where instead of 4-digit number, it was a 4-digit block code. In that case, the constraint on 0 wasn't applicable. Yes, Vikram. See, if it is a 4-digit number, then it has to be a 4-digit number. You cannot really have a 0 in the first place. But if it is a 4-digit code, you can probably use 0. And in that cases, GMAT is very clear about it. Okay, so Indranil is saying what level of difficulty this question might be. So Indranil, I feel this is more of a 600 to 650 level of question. 600 level of question is what I would say. Okay, so with this learning, let's move to the next question. A very similar question, but a slightly more challenging than the first one. Okay, so let me bring you the poll, and I'm gonna give you around 1.5 minutes to solve this question. All the best, guys. All right, guys, 10 more seconds before I end the poll. So please mark the responses if you haven't. And this is an interesting question. Okay. Good, guys. I see the responses are there. So I'm gonna end the poll now. Okay, cool. So again, slightly more difficult, slightly more challenging, and that's why you see the number of votes. Like most of you marked C as the answer. Good number of you marked B as the answer. I'm not revealing it. I'm not revealing the right answer right away. But let's see. Let's approach this. Let's understand how to solve it first. That's more important than getting to the right answer. Okay. So what it says is how many four-digit even numbers with distinct digits. Okay, so I know that there is no repetition which is allowed. So I can't use repetition. Can be formed using the numbers 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 0. So it's basically the same set of numbers. What we know now is since it is using 0, there is one constraint which is implicit. That is a four-digit number. I cannot use 0 in the first place. That's one constraint. But there is another constraint which is available that this number has to be even. Okay, so if you look at this question, it is without repetition, but there are two constraints that you have to take into account. One is 0 cannot be in the first place, and the second is number has to be even. Okay, Vikram is saying, can I change my answer to B? I think Vikram understood where he made a mistake, because the moment I said 0 cannot be in the first place, a lot of you realized that you messed up while marking C as the answer, because you probably did not take into account that 0 cannot be in the first place. Okay, so remember, guys, when you are solving the question in permutation combination, the first thing that you have to make sure is, obviously there are so many different things you have to take care of, but very, very important thing is this small and tiny thing, constraints. What are the constraints which are there? Like, be careful about it, and you have to take care of all the constraints that exist in a question. Okay, tell me, guys, is this part clear to all of you? Quick yes, no. Just want to make sure all of you are with me. Quick yes, no, guys. All the constraints have to be taken care of. So think about the constraints first. Make sure you're taking care of them. Okay. And that's why this question becomes very, very important. Every question in the session is handpicked to teach you some learning or the other. And make sure, and trust me, guys, we are just starting. Okay, good. I'm really happy to see that most of you are clear with that. So great job, guys. So let's understand how to solve this. So there are two constraints. So obviously some of you might be thinking about this. So which place should be filled first? My bad for the typos. I meant to write which, somehow I write will. Which place should be filled first? Because we know there is a constraint on the first place and there is a constraint on the last place as well. Okay. Now, which place should we fill first? Should we start with the first place? Should we start with the last place? What do I do in case there are two constraints? Honestly speaking, you can do either of them. Just be careful. Whenever you are taking one of the two approaches, you are careful about the other place also. So you have to keep both the constraints in mind. Okay. It's easier to solve if you start with the last place. I understand, Karishma, Devnita, all of you are saying that. Good. It's easier to solve that way, but even if you start from the first place, you will still get the same answer. And that's another important learning that you have to take into account. Permutation combination as a topic can be solved, the same question can be solved using multiple methods. And let me tell you, there are many different methods. You can probably solve the same question using 3 or 4 different methodologies. Okay, if you're logical, if you're smart, you will not only get to the right answer, but you'll also get it faster. But let's first focus on getting to the right answer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the last place first, which is a simpler method, and then we'll go solve it using the first place as well. Okay, Dipanjan, I'll answer your question, but let me first solve the question with case 1. So I'm going to fill the last place first. Okay, let me make 4 spaces. Okay, so it has to be an even number. Now, what even digits do I have with me? I have 2, 4, 8, and 0. Okay, so I can place any one of them here. All right, but here is where things get interesting. Out of these 4 numbers, there is one number which is special. 0 is a special number because 0 has a constraint with it. If I end up using 0 in the last place, then for the first place, I have more options available. Think of it this way. Let me write all the numbers here. Okay. 5, 7, 8, and 0. If I consume 0 in the last place, I have 6 options for the first place. Okay. But if I do not consume 0 in the last place, instead of 0, if I take any other even number, let's say I place 2, in that case, I only have 5 options for the first place because I can't use a 0 there. Okay. And this is another lesson you have to keep in mind. Very important lesson. Whenever you see that the placement of, like, whenever you are placing a number in one particular position, the impact on the other cases should be similar. If the impact is dependent on the number that you are placing, try to take it as a separate case. Okay? Is that learning clear to you? Because this is a very important learning, guys. I'm making sure that I'm breaking down everything for you. Okay, so Dipanjan had the same question. Can I split cases in 2, 4, and 8 and 0 in the last place? Good, Dipanjan, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, good. I see that most of you are clear with it. 91% of you are clear with that. 93 now. Okay, 94. Good. Really happy to see it. Great, guys. Okay, so that is something which is important. So Ajeta, Rajdeep, I'm repeating it one fine time. Remember, whenever you are filling a place with a number, for example, in this case, when we are filling the last place with 0 or 2, the impact on the other places are different. Okay, so that is something you have to think about. If you're filling one place with something, the impact on the other places should be similar. If it is not similar, they are different, make 2 different cases. For example, if I place 0 at the end, I have 6 options to fill the first place, because then there is no constraint on the first place. I can place anything other than 0 there, and 0 is already occupied in the last place. But if I fill the last place with 2, 4, or 8, I only have 5 options for the first place. Okay, so that's something which you have to keep into account. And then the rest of it is very, very easy. Okay, so if I take case 1, I can fill the next place in 5 ways. I can fill the third place in 4 ways, because I can simply do that counting, right? In the second scenario, I'm filling the last place in 3 different ways. I have 2, 4, or 8. Let's assume I have used 2. So I have 5 numbers left for the first place. And I have again 5 numbers left for the second place, because I can now use 0. So let's say I place 5 in the first place. Okay, so simply do counting 1, 4, 7, 8, 0. So there are 5 numbers. Okay, if I place 7 on the second place, I'm still left with 4 numbers in the end. So if you see, this total number of cases in over here is 120. Total number of cases over here is 300. Okay, so all in all, I have got 420 ways of creating 4-digit numbers. Okay, so that is my answer. So B is the correct answer. And now I'm going to solve this question by starting with the first digit. Okay, and most of you did not do it, but let me do that as well. Okay, let's see. Let's do it here. Now, when I start from the first place, it's going to be a little more complex. Okay, when I start from the first place, I have to be careful about using even numbers, because if I end up using an even number, let's say I end up using a 2 over here, then I'll have less numbers available with me to fill the last place. That's something you have to take into account. Okay, but if I place an odd number in the beginning, for the last place, I will still have all the even numbers available with me. That's why there are these 2 cases that you have to consider. Okay, Pratik, I'm talking about this second method here. Okay, and there are other methods also, but I'm not gonna get into the detail of it. It's gonna be a lot more complex, and they are mostly shortcut driven. Okay, so let me focus on the logical method now. So I'm explaining this part again. So what I'm saying is, if I want to fill the first place, I have to be careful about which number I use. If I use an even number in the first place, then for the last place, I only have 3 options left. But if I use an odd number in the first place, I have 4 options available for the last place. Okay, so that's why you have to make 2 different cases. Okay, over here as well. So let's start with the first one. If I use like an even number in the first place, how many even numbers exist? There are these four even numbers we talked about, 2, 4, 8, and 0. Okay, but can we use a 0 in the beginning? We can't. So in the first place, for filling the first place, I have three options. Okay, now let's move to the last place, because that's something which is again critical. Okay, there is a constraint on the last place as well. So I've already consumed 2. Okay, I have already consumed 2. What that means is, for the last place, I only am left with 4, 8, or 0. These are the three options which are available with me. So the last place can be filled in 3 different ways. So let's say I have consumed 2, and let's say I have consumed 8 as well in the last place. Now, how many options do I have for the second place? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 options which are available. Now, let's say I use 5 over here. Okay, then how many options do I have for the third place? I have 4 options here. Okay, so net I can fill the first place with an even number in 180 different ways. Okay, and I'm going very slow here. I'm doing it intentionally because I want all of you to relate with me. Okay, now let's take the second case. The second case is when we start by filling the first place with an odd number. Okay, and let me erase this again. Let me write the numbers again. And trust me, guys, this is very simple, very easy, and very quick. It doesn't take you a lot of time. Initially, it might, but when you start using it again and again, you'll do it very quickly. Okay, so let's start with the even odd number in the first place. How many odd numbers do we have? There is 1, there is 5, there is 7. So there are 3 options which I have for the first place. Okay, now since I'm using the odd number, I don't have to worry about how many even numbers are left for me. All even numbers are available for the last place, so I can use any one of them. Okay, so let's say I've used 1, and let's say I've used 0 for the last place. Okay, now how many numbers are left with me? 5 for the second place. Let's say I use 7. How many options are left with me? 4 for the fourth place. So all in all, you multiply this. How much? What is the product that you get? You get 240 as the product, and you sum them up. You are still ending up with a 420. Okay, and that's the correct answer. So it doesn't matter you fill the last place first or the first place first. Just make sure you are keeping in mind both the constraints. Okay, so let me quickly talk about people who mark choice C. People who mark choice C, what they did was they did not take into account the fact that if they are filling, so what they did was they actually used the last space first, but they did not take the case when 0 is there in the end. Okay, so what they did was they said, okay, I have this 4 numbers in the end. Okay, so I can fill the last place in 4 ways. All right, so like I can fill it in 4 ways. Any of these numbers can come, and they simply took out that number from the 7 numbers. Okay, so you have the 7 numbers here. They just thought that, okay, let me place a 0 maybe, okay, or whatever. And then what they said was, okay, I have 6 numbers there for the first one, then I have 5 for this and 4 for this. Okay, and this is where they made a mistake, because if 0 doesn't come in the end, if 8 comes in the end, in that case you cannot have 6 options for the first place. Okay, you only have 5 options for the first place. That's why it is important to take all the cases into consideration. Okay, quickly, guys, is this solution question clear to all of you? Are you with me here? We are 1 hour into the session. We have learned the counting method. I just want to make sure that we have learned the counting method really well, because I'm now going to move to the next level of difficulty. Okay, and all of you have to be with me for this. Just want to make sure all of us have understood the method of counting. It's very simple, very logical. Okay, great, guys. Most of you have understood it. A few of you haven't. So I cannot wait because I have to move forward, and there are so many different questions that you have to solve. So please bear with me. I'm gonna explain the counting method as we go forward. All right. So let's move to the next question. So let's solve this question. Question number 5. Slightly different, but can be solved using counting again. Okay. So I'm gonna give you a minute and a half to maximum 2 minutes for solving this question as well. So all the best, guys. And I'm going to mute myself in the meantime. All right, guys, last 10 seconds before I end this poll. So mark your answers if you haven't done so already. Again, there's a very interesting learning from this question as well, mind you. Okay, so I'm ending the poll now. So, guys, how was this question? Sanjay is asking, please tell me the difficulty level of this question. Sanjay, I would say this is again a 650 level question, is how I will put it. So, quickly, how did you find this question, guys? Easy, medium, difficult? What was tricky? If there was anything tricky with this one? Okay, Dheeraj found it nice. Okay, good. I'm happy to know that you're liking permutation combination questions, Dheeraj. Good. I'm not sure if you liked it earlier, but I'm happy to know that you're liking it. Shivani found it easy. Good. Somebody found it little tricky. Ritvik says medium. Okay, good. Amit also found it easy. Great, yeah. Ankita says somehow found I did it, but it is a little tricky. Okay, so I see mixed responses. Most of you found it easy and tricky. Some of you found it a little of medium difficulty. Got it. Good, guys. Thank you so much for your responses. I really like seeing such warm responses from you. Okay, so great. So let's try and solve this. So this is basically a word arrangement problem. Okay, but it's very similar in regard. Earlier we were dealing with some numbers. Now we are dealing with words. Okay, but the concepts remain the same. And that's why I talked about this. The concepts remain the same. We still have to work with counting. We still have to count things. Okay. So what is the constraint provided to me? Again, there is no repetition. Why? Let's read this actually. How many 6-letter words can be created using the letters of the word staple? Okay, so good. So we have the 6 letters staple, 6-letter word staple. We can use these letters, okay, such that alphabet A is always to the left of E and each letter is used only once. Okay, so from this we can definitely infer that there is no repetition allowed because we can only use each letter once. That's something which everyone has to be clear with. Okay, there is no repetition that is allowed in this particular case. Okay, let's move forward. So what is the constraint which is there? I said constraints are very important. A is always to the left of E. And I would want to ask you guys, what does this mean? And let me not ask what does it mean. That's not the right thing to ask. Rather, let me place a poll and ask you quickly, does it mean that A and E have to be together? Does it mean that A and E have to be together? Does it mean the same? Can I say when the like take a minute if you want to? Okay, the question is saying A is always to the left of E, but can I infer that A and E have to be together? I see the votes coming in. Please keep them coming in. I'll want to see responses from all of you here. It's a very, very important question. Okay, Ashwarya has a question. Can we solve this for SAPI word first, where double A, double E's are there? Ashwarya, I have you covered. Don't worry about it. I've thought of all the scenarios which can actually be there. Okay, so we will talk about those cases, but let me build up the pace for that. Okay, cool. So I see most of you believe that it doesn't mean the same, but some of you still believe that it means that A and E have to be together. It doesn't mean that A and E have to be together. If I had a sentence which said A is to the immediate left of E, okay, remember here what we are saying is A is always to the left of E. I'm not saying that it is to the immediate left. Okay, remember there is a difference between immediate left and always to the left. Okay, there's a huge difference between that. And all of you who marked A as the correct answer, which by the way is approximately 55% of the batch got it wrong just because of this tiny thing. You assumed that this means that A has to be to the immediate left of E. Okay, so tell me now, those of you who made this mistake, was it because of quant or verbal? Let me create a poll very quickly. Was it because of quant or verbal? When I say verbal, I mean because of lack of proper reading, because of lack of proper understanding. So those of you who mark choice A, I'm just talking to them now. Just talking to them. Who marked choice A, you missed, you understood that it always to the left means immediate left. Okay, really happy to see your responses. It actually denotes that you did not read the question, you did not understand the question. So trust me guys, permutation and combination is a word problem question. You have to have a clear understanding of what is written. If you do not understand it well, if you do not infer the right things, you will make mistakes. So it's not because of quantitative understanding, it's because of the incorrect understanding of the question statement. Okay, good. So let us solve the question now, because this was a very important piece that we had to understand. So we know that A and E do not need to be together. Okay, so how do I solve this question? By counting. Let's do it. Okay, so there are what, 6 places to be filled. I know there are 6 letters, 6 places to be filled, and all I know is A is supposed to be the left of E. Okay, so I can have to consider multiple places. Okay, I can have E here. Okay, I can have E here. I can have E in the third place. I can have E in this third place now, fourth place there, and I can have E in the second place as well. Okay, but I cannot have a case in which E is there in the first place, because there has to be a number which is there at the end of like there has to be a number before E. Okay, so let me quickly create this cases here. So all right, so there are 6 places here and there are 6 places here as well. Okay, again, don't worry, I'm going to teach you a very simple method as well. Okay, so Rajdeep, you're right, you cannot assume that A and E are adjacent. Okay, that's incorrect. That's something you cannot assume. Okay, so let's solve this. This is very simple now. 5 cases, just have to write down all the scenarios possible. First case, the easiest one. You can use anything in any which way you want, because if you have to fill this place, you can fill it with any letter, A, S, T, P, L, whatever you want. So you have 5 options for this, 4 options for this, 3 for this, 2 for this, 1 for this. So total of 5 factorial cases or 120 cases. Okay. Now what about the second case? Let's look at the second case. Armin, I'm going to talk about a shortcut. Don't worry about this. The method might look a little longer to you, but I'll tell you a very simple way of solving it. It can be solved probably in like 10 seconds. Okay, but let's come to that later on. Okay, so let's solve using the right method first. So when I'm looking at the second case, which is E in the second place. The last place, for the last place I have to think first, because I have a constraint here. I cannot have A on the right side of E. So for the last place, I'm only left with 4 choices. Okay, so let's say I end up using, let me write all the letters here. I end up using L for that. Then that case, for this place I have 4 options. This place I have 2, 4, 3, 2 and 1. So this is 4 into 4 factorial, which will turn out to be 96. Similarly, over here I have like 4 options, 3 options, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going a little fast here, but please bear with me over here. So this is basically nothing but 3 into 4 factorial, or you can multiply it if you want. Similarly, this is like 4, 3, 2, and this is again let's say I end up consuming this. So I have 2 and 1. Okay, so this is again 2 into 4 factorial. This is similar to that. This is 48, and similarly 4, 3, 2, 1, and only one option, which is A, has to be placed here. So this is 4 factorial and 24. The moment you add all of it, you get to 360, which is the correct answer. Okay, all of you with me here? I know quick calculation we have done? All of you with me here? All of you understood this? Quickly, quick yes, no, guys. Pratik is asking, can we move A instead of E and still get the same answer? Pratik, if you do that, you will still get the same answer. Doesn't really matter. Okay, if you didn't got to 420 by doing that, you made a calculation mistake probably. Okay, just check it out. You'll get the same answer. If you place A in first place and do it like that, you can still manage it. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, let me see the responses. I see that everyone is clear except a couple of people, so I'll have to move forward in the interest of time. Great, guys. So this is one method of solving it. This is the right method of solving it. But let's see how we can solve it logically. And trust me, guys, sometimes logic does wonders to the question. Okay, so remember what we had were we had 6 words with us. Okay, staple. Okay, now I have 6 places to fill. If I just try without any constraints, I can fill it in 6 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, which is a total of 720 different ways. Okay. Now I have to make sure that A is to the left of E. Okay. Now think of it this way. The chances of one letter, like one letter can either be to the left of another letter or to the right of another letter. Okay. So there are 2 scenarios possible. One letter can be to the right of another letter, left of another letter, sorry, or to the right of another letter. They cannot be at the same place. Okay, they have to be either to the left or to the right. So there are 2 scenarios, and both of these scenarios are equally likely. Again, this is a complex thing, guys. It's logical, but it's complex. So if you don't understand it, don't worry about it. Focus on the first approach. You know it, you can answer the question. Okay, but if you understand this part, that my chances of having one letter to the left of the other or right of another is same because all these letters are different. Okay, they are all different. So my chances of having one letter to the left or to the right is equal. So the probability of these 2 things are equal. I'm not going into probability, but I'm just talking about the chances. Okay, just use the word chance. So I'm half as likely to have A on the left and half as likely to have A on the right of E. And that's how you can also solve this question in 10 seconds if you want to. Okay, but that's something which has to come after some time. Again, this is the shortcut, logical only, but you have to gain confidence over your basic skills. So remember, don't fall for shortcuts. I kind of get this question from a lot of students. They say that I I want to learn shortcuts from day one. Don't do that, man. First thing you should do is learn the best methods, the right methods. And once you practice using the right methods enough number of times, you will be in a position to learn the shortcuts and do it. Okay, so Dhruv has a question. What if there are 2 E's? How can we solve it by this quick method? So Dhruv, I'm not taking that question now. Please send a mail to me on piyush@gmatviz.com if you want to. I can definitely help you with that. Okay, but in the interest of time, let's move to the next question. Okay, quick question, guys. Very simple. Let's solve it. All the best. 1.5 minutes is what you get. In fact, let's skip these 2 questions. Okay, in fact, these 2 are simpler questions. Let's skip these 2 questions and let's move to question number 8. So I've changed the question, guys. In the interest of time, I'm skipping 2 simple questions and let's go to the next question, which is slightly more complex. Okay, so here you have the question on your screen. Please take a fresh attempt. I'm giving you 2 minutes as a fresh time. Okay, all the best. Guys, just to make sure that you're solving this question, I'm resetting this poll. I'm sharing the new poll again. Please mark your answers in this poll. Okay, please solve this question. Okay, 10 more seconds before I end the poll. All right, I'm ending the poll now. So tell me, guys, how was this one? How was this question? Easy, medium, difficult? What is that you thought of it? So Vikram is asking, would the recording of the session be shared? Yes, Vikram, you will get the recording of the session. And someone's asking for my email ID, so I've shared it in the chat as well. It's very simple, piyush@gmatwiz.com. Okay. Ritvik found this question good. Rajdeep said it was difficult. Ajita found it tough as well. So it is slightly difficult, slightly different is how I will put it. But once you understand how to solve it, the next question that you solve is gonna be very easy for you. Okay. But what is important is to think logically. Okay. So let's see how to solve this question logically. All right. Now, what we know here is there are three boys and four girls. And we know that no two boys should be sitting together. Okay. So what it means is the two boys which are there are two boys should not be talking, any two boys should not be sitting together. That is the idea. Okay. So Dipanjan has mentioned a method using permutation, which is good. Let us solve this question. So what is the level? Shashwat, the level is around 650. How this is what I would say. So approximately 650 to maximum 700 is the level of this question. So there are three boys and four girls. So let's denote those boys by B1, B2, B3 because they are going to be distinct, and the girls by G1, G2, G3, G4. Okay. Now the most popular answer in this case was choice A. Okay, because most of you thought that okay, since I have to keep the boys away from each other, what makes sense is I place the boys like this, and in the spaces between or on the sides, I kind of place the girls. Okay, you fix the boys, which is probably what I told you to do. I told you to take care of the constraint. So the boys shouldn't be sitting together. However, there is a problem here. When you do this, what you are doing here is you're assuming that between two boys there can be only one girl. Okay, you're assuming that between two boys there can be only one girl, but there is a possibility that the boys can be sitting like this. And let me write it here. There is a possibility that you can have a scenario like this, okay, or a scenario like this. Okay, in both these scenarios you have the boys separated. You have the boys separated, but the girl, there can be more than one girl sitting next to each other. There is no restriction on girls sitting next to each other. Okay, so that is slightly tricky. So in this type of questions, what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to, instead of fixing the boys, you are supposed to fix the girls. Okay, always remember, if you have to keep the boys apart, then fix the girls first, because if the girls are fixed and you are placing boys in between here, you will automatically make sure that two boys are not sitting adjacent to each other. Okay, and if there is one space which gets empty, okay, which remains empty, for example, let's say when I'm placing, let's say, boys here, I have to place three boys, right? So I can only pick three places. So if I, let's say, somehow end up picking these three places, okay, then G1, G2, G3 are going to sit together. But if I pick up, let's say, these three places, then G1, G2 are sitting together, G3, G4 are sitting together. Okay, so the simple method here is you have to fix the girls and not the boys. So the constraint is simple. No two boys are sitting together. What basically it means is there are some girls between, sitting between the boys, among the boys, is how I will put it. Okay, so for those of you who marked choice A, made an error with this, you went ahead with the first approach. You place the boys, you probably arrange them in three ways, because you can have boy 1, boy 2, boy 3 in any order. So you probably think of 3, 2, 1, and you place the girls then where you did 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, and you ended up with 144. But it is sadly the incorrect answer, because you missed cases like this. Okay, so is that clear to all of you? Wait a second. Is that clear to all of you? Quick yes, no, guys. Clear to all of you? Vikram, I'm going to take your question. Is it clear why A is incorrect? Good. Really happy to see that. Thank you so much. Again, Vikram has a very interesting point, and I completely agree with you, Vikram. Vikram says, how do we identify this flaw in our reasoning as highlighted in the first case? Does it come with enough exposure to similar questions of practice? Yes, Vikram. When I was a student, when I saw this question for the first time, this is what I did. And this is a rookie mistake, to be honest. But the good thing is, since this is I understood it once, I did not repeat it again. Okay. But what is important to understand is, why is this incorrect? That part is important, because once you understand why it is incorrect, you understand that you're missing out on these cases. You're not able to just solve this question. You're able to take this learning even forward. Okay, so let's quickly solve the question then. Okay, the right method. So we have to place girls first. Okay, so I have to place the girls apart, like the four girls. Okay, and then there are like 5 places. So the first boy has 5 choices to sit. Okay, he can sit anywhere. The second boy, for example, let's say the first boy sits here. Okay, then the second boy will have 4 options available with him. Let's say boy 2 sits here. Then the third boy will have 3 options available with him. All right. And again, these basically girls can also sit in any other order. I have just taken this 4 places into account, but the girl 4 can be sitting here, girl 1 can be sitting here. So this is another thing that we have to take care of. So they can, between themselves, they can sit in 4 factorial different ways. 4 factorial is nothing but 4 into 3 into 1. Okay. 2 into 1, sorry, 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So when you have to place 4 people, arrange 4 people, you can simply say that it can be done in 4 factorial ways. And that's why the answer to this one is 1440, which is option D. So those of you who marked D as the correct answer did the right thing. And just take this learning forward from here. Okay, so pretty good question. A very important lesson whenever you're talking about placing people so that no 2 people are together. Try to fix the other group first. Okay, Virat has another question. Can we also do it like this? We get the cases where two boys sit together and three boys sit together and then minus with total. That's another approach, Virat, but that's a little more tricky because in that case, when you're saying three boys sit together, that also includes two boys sitting together. Okay, so you have to be very, very precise while doing that. There are chances of errors in doing so. Okay, so what I mean to say is if you want to do it that way, so what Virat has told about is I can find total arrangements and then I can minus arrangements in which two boys sit together, and then I can minus the arrangements in which three boys sit together, and I can find the answer. But this is going to be tricky because when three boys are sitting together, okay, sorry, when two boys are sitting together, it also includes some cases in which three boys are sitting together. Okay, so it's not that easy. You have to be very, very sure of what you're doing, and it's much more complicated. So I won't recommend that method. It is going to be a lot more challenging. I hope it is clear for you. So always remember it this way. Yeah, so Vikram, double counting will happen. True. So don't do that. The simplest way is, I'm answering it again very quickly for those of you who did not understand, that first place the girls, first fix the girls, and then fix the boys. Okay, so that's simple enough. So if I have to fix the boys, every boy, the first boy has five options now. So it can be, he can sit in five of these places. Second boy has four options. Third boy has three options, and then the girls can be arranged in 4 factorial ways. So that's the answer to this question. Okay, so I guess this is clear to all of you. Okay, good. So let's now move to the next question then. Okay, let's talk about this. So this is another question which someone asked in the chat earlier. So let me quickly show you this question, and I'm going to bring up the poll. This is another important learning that we are going to generate. Okay, so all the best, guys. 1.5 minutes max for this question. All right, guys. Last 10 seconds before I end the poll. Okay, I'm giving some more time. I see some people are still responding, so 10 more seconds for this, guys. All right, so let me end the poll now. Okay, so good. And this is an official question, by the way. So I'm happy to see that most of you got the right answer. Approximately 54% of you have marked D, which is the correct answer. So good, guys. Good job. So let's think about let's solve this question. Okay. So Ashish has another question, and let me answer that because this is important. Basically, you Ashish is saying that in the last question that we solved, the process works because this question did not mention that the row has only 7 seats. Am I correct in assuming this? No, really, Ashish. See, it's not about 7 seats. In the end, you will have only 7 seats available. Even if some places are blank, it basically means the girls are sitting next to each other. That's how you have to look at it. Harsh, this question is again another 650 level question, very similar to the question before this. The only difference here is we have one letter which is repeating. You have I which is repeating. So let's solve this question. Okay. So think of it this way. Like, let me write the word digit. So one word is digit. Since I is repeating, if I try to replace I with x, one I with x and another I with y, so think of them as I1 and I2. If they were I1 and I2, I will have two different words possible. I would have a word which is dxgyt. Let's say I1 is x and I2 is y. I would have another word which is dygxt. These two words would have been different if these two i's were different, but they are identical. Okay, what it basically means is whenever answer is D actually, so Dhruv, you are right, but whenever you have two identical word letters here, then if you arrange these words, rearrange these words within themselves, it will consider two scenarios. Okay, because these two letters are also getting arranged between themselves. Okay, so whenever you find the total arrangements here, whenever you are arranging these letters in whichever way, you end up arranging i's as well, but they are not different, they are identical. So whatever is the result you get, you should divide them by 2 factorial or 2. Okay, so let's solve this question with that understanding. So what we know is in this case, the letters DGIIT can be used to form 5-letter strings such as digit or DGIIT. Using these letters, how many 5-letter strings can be formed in which the two occurrences of the letter I are separated by at least one other letter? So in this case, this is very similar to the question that we solved earlier. We have to separate i's, the two i's. So what should we fix first? Quickly in the poll here, what should be fixed first, guys? We need to separate the i's. So what should we fix first? I would like to hear from you guys. Just to make sure all of you are with me. I know the session is slightly longer, but I'm sure you're learning a lot from the session. Permutation combination is a very dense topic. I'm trying my best to squeeze it in a 2-hour long session as much as possible. But please tell me, what should I fix first? Ajita says we should fix I. Tariq says not I. Good point, Tariq. Akansha says DGT, and Nirbal says the same. Good. So I see most of you are talking about that. Amit, Ajita, and all. Please remember the question before this. In the question before this, we fixed the girls because we wanted the boys to be separated out. And same logic applies here. Since we want the i's to be separated out, we should be fixing the other words. Okay, and the other words are DG and T. Okay, and this G looks more like a 4, so let me rewrite it. Okay, so we first have to fix D, G, and T. That's the idea. Okay, so we first have to see these 3 things, and in how many ways can I fix these 3 letters? So it can be done in, like, I can have D here or here or here, so it can be done in 3 ways. So it's 3 factorial in short, but it can be done in 3, 2 into 1. Okay, so I have to fix D, G, and T. They can come in any which order we want. Okay, and then I can place the i's. Okay, so how many i's are available with me? There are 2 i's. Okay, the first I has 4 options, so I write the first I has 4 options, so it can go in this place, for example, let's say, and the second I has 3 options, let's say it goes in this place. Okay, but remember, when we are doing this, we are kind of considering the arrangement of the i's. Okay, so I will divide it by 2. Okay, and that's how the answer comes to basically let me check out the options again. So the answer was D, which is, in fact, let me quickly check, the answer is 36. So this is the result. We will get to 36. You can calculate this, you will still get to 36. Okay, let me check this quickly. Yeah, so there are other methods of doing this. Some people are saying that I can make the 2 i's together, get the arrangement, and minus the total. Yes, in this case you can do it because there are these 2 i's only. So there's only 2 words which are there. So you can do it. Okay, so Pratik is saying any other method. So we can do that, guys. For example, let's say I simply arrange digit. Okay, digit can be arranged in how many ways? I have to fill 5 places, right? Let me actually do it here. So I have to place 5, I have to fill 5 places. That can be done in 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 ways, divided by 2 because I is repeating. So this is nothing but 120 by 2, which is 60. Okay, so these are total number of arrangements which are possible. Okay, and then what you can do is you can subtract the cases in which the 2 i's are together. Okay, subtract those cases. So if you consider the 2 i's as a single entity, and let's do it here, then you have D, G, and T. Okay, now this is one single entity and these are 3 different entities. So we have 4 entities in total which can be arranged in 4 factorial or 24 ways. So what you can do here is you can simply subtract 24 from this and you will still get to 36. So you can use this method or this method, you will anyway end up getting to the same answer. Okay, so I think all of you are clear with that. Some of you are asking for explaining again. So I'll explain again, Ashwin. So Ashwin, there are 2 ways of doing it. This method, the first method that I talked about, where you place DG and T and you place the i's around it. Okay, and that's one method. I use this method because we solved the boys and girls question using it. So that's why I used it. Okay. I'll come to your question, Ashwin, but I'm quickly taking up a few questions from Indranil and another person. They were asking for, since this is a 5-letter digit, why do we have 7 dashes in total? So Indranil, don't just look after the dashes. Think of it this way. These 2 places are blank. They are non-existing. So in the end, you are not going to get a 7-letter word. You're getting a 5-letter word only. But we need to have these dashes because I might have a scenario where this I is sitting somewhere over here. Okay, or this I is also sitting somewhere over here, or this I can sit somewhere over here. So I have to take all cases possible. It doesn't make the word 7-letter long. It still remains as 5-letter long. Okay, quick yes no guys, did you understand this part? That it still remains a 5-letter long word, not a 7-letter long word. And I'm going to come to the second method as well. Don't worry, guys. Are you clear with this? That why it still remains a 5-letter word, not a 7-letter word, irrespective of the places, because anyway they are going to remain blank. Okay, so don't just count the number of places. Also see whether they are occupied or not. Okay, cool. So I see that you guys have got it. Fine. So Shivani, how come 4 into 3? Think of it this way. I have to place 2 i's. There are 4 places. The first I can be placed in any of these 4 places. If I place it here, I have 3 options left for the second I. The second I can be placed in any one of them. Okay, so that's why 4 into 2, 3. Now why divided by 2? Shashwat was asking this. So why divided by 2? Because think of it this way. Whether this I comes here or this, whether this I comes here or this I goes there, is not a different scenario. Just like this, look at this word digit. If this I and this I were different, I will have 2 different combinations when I arrange them. But since they are same, we have to divide them by 2 because the arrangement is not really visible. Okay. So Dipta, are you able to get this point? Okay, think of it like I1 and I2. When I'm doing 4 into 3, I'm assuming that there will be a scenario where I1 and I2 will be like this. Then there is a possibility that when I am, let me actually start it again. When I'm placing I1, I place it at this place and I place I2 at this place. Okay. I think now all of you are clear with it. Great, great. So that's why I have to divide by 2, because these are not I1 and I2, they're the same I, they're same words. All right, now let's go to the second method. What is the second method? Second method says that since the I's should be separated out, what we can do is we can find total ways and then we can minus the ways in which the I's are together. Okay, why can we do it here? Because there are only two I's. If there were more than two I's, then this method will not be the best method. Okay, so let's do it this way. A lot of you wanted to do it this way, so let's do it this way. So total is, I have like 5 options for to place D. Similarly, 4, 3, 2, 1, total 5 factorial ways. But since I is repeating, I divide it by 2, so I get 60 ways. Okay, so this can be done in 60 ways. Total ways is 60. Now, I have to subtract cases when two I's are together. Okay, so when two I's are together, I have to take them as single unit. And then D, G, and T. So I have now 4 entities to arrange, which can be done in 4 factorial ways. And I don't need to arrange I amongst themselves because they are same. So this is nothing but 24. So you can subtract these two and still get to an answer 36. Okay. Is it clear to all of you? Is this question clear to all of you? Quick yes, no, guys. Just make sure that everyone is clear. Quick yes, no. In the meantime, I'll answer Shivani's question. Shivani, I'm explaining it one last time. When you are placing DG and T, you have to take care of all the places adjacent to it, because the I's can be in between them or the side. Because even if they are on the side, they will be separated with the other I using some gap at least. So you have to take all those cases into consideration. Okay, so let me check. Okay, I see that almost all of you are clear with this. So great, guys. So this is a very important learning, very, very important learning. Okay, so whenever you see similar entities, like let's say there are two I's or two T's or two G's or three G's, you make sure you divide them by that. You take care of that arrangement. You divide by 2 factorial or 3 factorial depending on how many things are repeated. Okay, Vikram is asking, why don't we divide two I's by 2 in the second case? Because we consider them as one entity. So Vikram, yes, we consider them as one entity and we did not consider their arrangement. So if you want to divide it by 2, you first have to consider their arrangement as well and then divide by 2. So it doesn't make sense, right? So we did not consider the arrangement. We said that I are together. We did not say that, okay, the first I can be in the first place, second I can be in the first place. We did not take that into account. Okay, I hope that makes it clear. Pratik, thank you very much for your comment. I am happy to know that you like my approach of teaching, and we are very particular about GMAT at GMAT ways about how we teach things. Okay, we make it very logical at every place. Okay, so with that, let's move to the next thing. All right, so let's move to selection. Okay, now we haven't used NCR, NPR till now, have we? Quickly, guys. So before I go here, I would like to know, how are you finding this session till now? Like, how are you finding this session, as in how are you finding the method of not using NPR and NCR? How is the feeling of it? Like, tell me, guys, like how you find it. So Dipta, if there are 3 I's, then you divide by 3 factorial, not by 3. Okay, I think I should not ask you to write it on. Okay, some people are writing now. Good. Very nice, very helpful, great, logical. Okay, really good, satisfactory, and building confidence. Nice, guys. Really happy to know that you guys are finding it helpful. Because see, I have struggled with permutation combination as a student. Okay, I know how difficult it is when you just put things in a blanket of NPR and NCR. You have those difficult formulas to remember. You have to put your head to what to do with the permutation and combination. But trust me, once you take permutation and combination out of the picture, you simply worry about counting. PNC is one of the easiest things to solve. Trust me, guys, it's very, very logical. You just have to put it to practice. You just have to work on that. And that's why at GMAT we make sure every question in GMAT platform is solved using counting, filling spaces method, and we don't work on NPR, NCR. Okay, so now I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm going to talk about P and C. Okay, Nipun says, can you please clarify when to choose P and when to choose C? So Nipun, I never do that. Trust me, I never use permutation. I always use combination if required, and that too after like doing some bit of counting, understanding what combination means. Okay, so I'm trying to help you understand what selection means. Combination is basically selection. What does combination mean? So for example, let's take a simple example. Okay, ABC are 3 people, and I have to select 2 out of these 3 people. Okay, so there are 3 people, A, B, and C. My job is to select 2 people out of these 3 people. Just select them. Okay, create a team or whatever. Okay. Now, if I do go by counting, what I can do is I can say that, okay, the first person can be selected in 3 ways because I have 3 options, A, B, C. I can select the first person in 3 ways. Okay. And then I can select the second person in 2 ways. Right. So some of you might think that there are 6 ways of selecting 2 people out of 3 people. But let's understand what is the difference here. Okay. When we select first person in 3 ways and second person in 2 ways, we are actually also considering their arrangement. Okay. So that is something we are already doing. And let me make it easy for you with the help of an example. So let's say when you are doing the first selection, there is a chance that in the first selection we choose A. Okay. So if you have chosen A in the first selection, then in the second selection, we can select either B or C. Okay. So if B is selected, then the 2 people who are selected are AB. Okay. And if C is selected, then the 2 people who are selected are AC. Okay. I think this is clear till this point. Let's move forward. And I'm just making it logical. Dipanjan, I'm just making it logical also. I want every one of you to understand what is happening logically. Okay. Now, assume that in the first selection, I did not end up with A. I selected B. Okay, so let's cross it. So in the second selection, I can choose A or C. If I select A in the second selection, I will have BA. If I choose C in the second selection, I will have B and C. Okay. The third scenario is I can select C in the first selection. Then I will end up with CA or CB. Okay. So what if you see over here, you can actually see that this AB and this BA are exactly the same things. Okay. I'm selecting people. Whether I select A first or B first doesn't matter. I'm at the end selecting people. So do you think we should consider them twice? Do you think we should consider them twice? Quick yes, no, guys. Do you think we should consider A and B twice? Say yes if you feel that they should be considered twice, just like the case we have done here. And say no if you think that they should be counted only once, because at the end of the day, we are taking 2 people. We are selecting 2 people. We select A first or B first, doesn't really matter. At the end, we are just selecting 2 people, A and B. At the end, we have A and B in a team. So select no if you believe that we just have to take one of these 2 cases. We shouldn't take 2. And select yes if you feel that we should count 2 times. Okay, good guys. I'm really happy with the results. Still 1/4 of the batch believes that they should count it twice. So let me tell you why you should not do it. And let me tell you where you are getting confused. See, till now, whatever questions we have solved also had some places to fill. Okay, so it actually mattered whether A is sitting to the left of B or A is sitting to the right of B. Okay, this is what we call as arrangement of entities. Okay, if you have to consider arrangement, then you have to count them twice. It makes sense. But here we are not considering arrangement. We are just selecting them. Whenever you select things, you don't consider arrangement. You have to take only one case. Okay. So always remember, in this case, if you are doing 3 into 2, you should actually divide it by 2 factorial, because you are selecting 2 things. When you are doing them one by one, you are automatically taking arrangement into account. Okay, so if you individually count things, and that's what we have been doing for almost 2 hours now, we have been counting everything. Whenever you are counting, you are automatically taking care of arrangements between the things. So if arrangement is not important, you divide it by 2 factorial, and that's the same thing, by the way, we did with the previous question. If you go back to this question, the one with i's, why did we divide by 2 factorial? Because we did not want the arrangement. The arrangement did not matter in that case. The same thing is available here, applicable here. You have to divide by 2 factorial because the arrangement does not matter. Okay? And I don't want to get into permutations and combinations, so Nipun and throw, I'm not talking about that. Okay? So just remember, when you're selecting, you have to divide by the number of arrangements. Okay? Fine. So let's go to the next question. So with that in mind, I wanted to solve this question. Okay. So all the best, guys. I'm going to give you 1.5 minutes to do this, or maybe 2 minutes if you need that as well, because it is calculation intensive. So I'm going to mute myself for a couple of minutes. Please solve this question and then we'll discuss this. All right, guys. I'm ending the poll in 10 seconds more. Okay. So I want to ask like how was the question, but we are running behind schedule, so I want to cover more questions, so I'm going to rush a little bit. Ritvik, I'll continue the session for another 15-20 minutes, maybe try and solve a couple of more questions which are pretty good, and because those are mostly like 700-750 level questions also. Okay, so I'll try my best to do that. Are the order different or can they repeat? Okay, so let's read this, let's understand this. So a restaurant R offers 12 different vegetarian and 15 different non-vegetarian dishes. So I know that there are vegetarian dishes, there are 12 dishes, they're all different. There are non-vegetarian dishes which are 15 and they're all different. If Ryan wants to order 2 vegetarian and 2 non-vegetarian dishes, so he wants to order 4 dishes in total, what are the different ways in which he can order? Okay, so basically he has to order 4 dishes, so he has to order 2 from this and 2 from the rest. Okay, so what you have to do is he has to select 2 dishes from 12 and 2 dishes from 15. So clearly he can do this in 12 into 11. So he can select first dish in 12 ways, second dish in 11 ways. But since we are talking about selection, we have to divide by 2. And he can do this in 15 into 14 by 2. Okay, is this part clear to all of you guys? Quick yes, no. Is this part clear to all of you? Quick yes, no. Just to make sure all of you are clear with this so that I can rush and move to the next part. Cool, cool, great, great. I see that everyone is clear with this. Okay, the same thing is basically nothing but I can write this as 12C2 because technically it is combination. I can write 15C2. This is combination. Okay. Sudipta is asking why by 2. Sudipta, you have to focus on the part. I talked about this in the previous slide. When we are selecting, you have to divide, take out the arrangements. Okay. So if you are doing 12 into 11, you are actually taking the arrangement as well. That's why you have to divide by 2. Okay. And basically, so this is what we have to do. So this is the thing. Now he is ordering 2 vegetarian and 2 non-vegetarian dishes. So there is an and in between. What does it mean? I have to multiply these two. Okay. Now when you do that, you will get the answer as D. Okay, and D is the correct answer. Most of you got it right. Like 70% of you got it right. The next popular choice was choice B. Those of you who marked B missed this point. They did not see the and. They probably thought of it as or they simply ended up adding these two things. If you add these two instead of multiplication, you will end up with B. Okay, so those of you who ended up with B made a mistake while reading the sentence, reading the question. So remember, you have to read the question properly in order to get it right. Okay. Tejasvi is asking, where does it say that the dishes cannot be repeated? Okay, Tejasvi, let me ask you a counter question. Where does it say that the dishes can be repeated? Okay, so there's no mention of it, so you cannot assume that. We have to order 2 vegetarian and 2 non-vegetarian dishes, so it can be done in this way. That is the thing. Okay, which level this question might be? Again, this is a simpler question. I wanted to start with a simple question for selection, so this is a 650 level question again. Now let's solve a 700 level question. So this is a 700 level question in front of you guys. Okay, I want you to approach it methodically. I'm going to give you approximately 2.5 minutes to solve this question. So take your time and get it right. Okay. Just a second, guys. I think this question is becoming a little too difficult. So what I'm doing here is I'm so sorry for saying this, but I'm removing this part. Okay. You might have to solve it again, but please, please, please do not consider this part. Okay. Let's not consider this. Otherwise, this is going to be a little more challenging. GMAT thankfully doesn't go that deep. Okay, I am ending the poll. I'm resetting the poll. I'm so sorry for this, guys. But I want you to answer the question again, taking into account that only this information is available with you. Okay. I'm so sorry for this. Apologize sincerely, but I don't want to make it too complex for you. Let's focus on this part and then solve it. Okay, guys, last 30 seconds because this is a tough question, so I just want you to have your time. Okay, I'm ending the poll now, and I would like to know how did you find this question? How was this question? Was it easy? Was it difficult? If it was tricky, what was tricky in this question? Just want to hear from you guys. Please feel free to share your responses in the chat here. Just a quick discussion because I don't want to be like just going in one direction that me I'm speaking, you're not speaking. So let's hear from you guys. How was this question? Okay, Vikram found it tough. Devnita also found it tough. Dhruv says option E is the answer in my opinion. This is definitely a 700 level question. after I've removed that particular line. If I keep that, it will probably be a 750 level question, in fact. Okay, so couldn't think of how to break it in down into cases. Okay, tough. Can you provide answer to earlier question? Shadab, we are slightly short on time, so I will not be able to take up the other question today. But if you want, you can write a mail to me. We can see to that. Okay. There are many cases to consider. Nadine says, okay. Got it. Okay, so let's look at this question. Let's see how to solve it. Let's make it easy. Okay, so what we know is what is the number of ways in which a team of 4 people. So we are talking about a team of 4 people. We haven't talked about arranging them. Okay, so I just need to have 4 people. Okay, a team I have to create. I don't have to make them sit somewhere. So the order doesn't really matter. I just want 4 people to be with me. That's something I can understand till now. How many ways can a team of 4 people be formed from amongst 6 married couples? Okay, so 6 married couples basically means we have 12 people in all. Okay, so we have 12 people to choose from. I have to choose 4 people out of them. If there was nothing else mentioned, my job could have been very simple. I could have done 12C4 and I might have gotten to my answer. But sadly, that's not the case. There is a constraint. What does the constraint says? The constraint says if the team cannot include 2 people who are married to each other. Okay, so I cannot have 2 people who are married to each other. Okay, now what does it mean? It means that if let's say I say couple 1, okay, which is M1 F1, couple 2 is M2 F2, couple 3 is M3 F3, and so on till couple 6, which is M6 F6. If I choose M1, I cannot choose F1. If I choose F2, I cannot choose M2. Okay, so I can only choose, basically I can simplify this and I can say that this basically means I can only choose 1 person from each couple. Not each couple, 1 person maximum I can choose from a couple. That's what I can write. And please try and be with me, understand that we have to draw the right inferences in order to make it simpler for us. So from 1 couple, I can choose maximum 1 person. That's the max. Because see, I have to choose 4 people in all. I cannot choose 1 person from each couple. If I do that, I will be having 6 people all in all. But I just need 4. What does it mean? What it means is that in the end, I might have chosen 4 couples, groups of basically 4 couples, and I would have taken 1 from each of them. So it's a 2-step process. Okay, let me write that. It's a 2-step process. The first step is select 4 couples. The second step is select 1 person out of the couple. Okay, and I want you guys to tell me, are you clear with this part? Are you understanding this part? Are you clear with this? Did you understand why I said so? Quick yes, no, guys. And this is how you simplify things in your mind. Okay, even the most complex questions. This is a 700 level question that we are talking about here. Okay, quick yes, no. And please respond. I would request everyone to respond here. Because that will give me a clarity if I need to repeat this part or not. Because if I see anything above 90% saying yes, that they are clear with it, I can move ahead. Okay. I see that most of you are clear, but there are some of you, around 10% of you who are not clear. So let me clear this part again. See, I cannot choose 2 people from same married couple. So what it means is, if I take any couple, the maximum number of people I can choose from them is 1. I can maximum either take M1 or F1 from this group. Whether I will take them or not, that's a separate thing. But I have to take maximum 1 person out of this group. And there are only 4 people I can take. So obviously there will be only 4 couples from which I will be choosing. So there are 2 things that I'm supposed to do. First thing is I have to choose 4 out of 6 couples. And then from each of these couples, I have to select one person out of the 2 which is there. Okay. So this is a 2-step process. Now, why 4 couples, Adela? Think of it this way. I have to take 4 people, right? And from each group, I can only take one person. So I need 4 couples. I need to choose 4 couples. I cannot do it with 3. I cannot do it with 5, because if I choose 3, I'll only have 3 people. If I choose 5, I will have 5 people. So I can only select 4 couples. Now, in how many ways can I select 4 couples? Out of 6, it can be done in 6C4 ways if you want to use the format of combination. Okay. Otherwise, if you want to do it without using combination, you can do it like this. First couple can be chosen in 6 ways, second 5 ways, third 4 ways, and the fourth one in 3 ways. But since you are choosing 4 of them, you are basically arranging. So you divide by 4 factorial. So you can either do it this way or this way, whichever you want. You can count or use combination, but in both cases, you will end up with the same thing. 64 is nothing but, let me quickly do it calculation. So 64 is nothing but 15. Okay. So those of you who marked choice A did it partially right, did get it partially correct. Okay. So, but what you did is we did step 1, but you probably did not do step 2. Even if you choose 4 couples, let's say you choose C1, C2, C3, and C4, C6, whatever. Okay. You still have to go and choose which person out of these are you selecting. So you did not focus on step 2. Shivani, choice C is indeed the correct answer. Okay. C is indeed the correct answer. So once you have selected 4 couples, that is like 15 ways in which you can do it, you have to select one person out of the couple. So if let's say you have selected C1, in how many ways can you select one person? You can select it in 2 ways. You can either select M1 or select F1. Similarly, if you select C2, how many ways can you select one person out of the 2? You can do it in 2 ways. Similarly, you can do it in 2 ways for the other 2 couples as well. So the answer here is 15 multiplied by it's 16 around. So this is coming out to be 240. Okay. So C indeed is the correct answer. So those of you who marked C considered both the things. You selected 4 people and you also selected one person out of those couple. Those of you who marked A did not do step 2. Okay. Those of you who marked B did not do step 1. Okay. Now what about people who marked D? Those of you who marked D, what you did was you tried to get to the answer, but you kind of hurried a little. Okay. What you did was you probably selected 4 couples. You basically selected 4 couples in like 15 ways by 64, and then you arranged the couples amongst each other. But the arrangement is not required. Plus, you have to select people. So that is why D is incorrect. Those of you who selected E, what they did was they considered arrangement. So basically, they considered. I'll come to this. In fact, let me make it more clear here. So what these people did was they followed a different method, and I'll talk about this method as well, which is something which I believe someone has written in the chat here. Benoit, you're right, that's another method. Another method of doing this is you think of the initial scenario. So there are 12 people altogether, right? First thing that you can do is you can select one out of these 12 people, any one out of these 12 people. Okay, that can be done in how many ways? It can be done in 12 ways. Okay, now if you select one person out of this 12, okay, and let's say, let me write it over here very quickly once again. Let's say you select M1. You have already selected M1. What does it mean? If you have already selected M1, what does it mean? Can you tell me in the chat here? If you have already selected M1, what does it mean? Can you draw the inferences, even if you use the other method to solve? But still, I want to make sure that all of you understand this part. If you have selected M1, what does it mean? Okay, good response, guys. Dhruv, Harsh, Jitin, Dipanjan, all of you have got it right. When I select M1, it automatically means I cannot select F1. So what it means is for the next selection, I have 10% available, 10 people available. So I can select one person, the next person out of these 10 people in 10 ways. And let's say I selected M2. If I selected M2, what it means is I can then not select F2. Okay. So I will be left with 8 people in the next attempt. Similarly, if I select one person here, I'll be left with 6 people in the next attempt. So I can select 4 people in 12 into 10 into 8 into 6 ways as well. But since I'm selecting them one by one, I'm automatically considering the arrangement as well. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to divide this by 4 factorial because the arrangement does not matter here. Okay, if you do that, you will still end up with choice C. So you will still end up with choice C, which is 240. But if you do not divide by 4 factorial, you do not realize that the arrangement is considered here, and you do not divide by 4 factorial, you will end up marking choice E as the correct answer, which is incorrect. Okay. Again, this is a 700 level question. It was dense, definitely. But I want to ask, are all of you clear with this approach now? Are all of you clear with this question? Quick yes, no, guys. Are all of you clear with this? Quickly. All right, great. So really happy to see your responses, guys. Almost everyone is clear with it. Around 90% is what I would say. But still, in the interest of time, I'll have to move forward. So let's solve one more question for the day. Okay, let's solve one more question for the day, and then we will end the session. So I have a couple of questions, 3 questions planned, but I'm just gonna solve this one because this is an important aspect that we need to learn. Okay, so let's solve this one here. All the best, guys. I'm going to give you around 3 minutes to solve this, and then we'll discuss this question today. All the best. There's a very, very important learning in this, so please do it seriously. I know it is almost 2.5 hours now, but it's going to be very, very helpful for it. One more minute before I end the poll. Okay, guys, I'm ending the poll now. So tell me, how was this question, guys? Like, how did you find this question? Easy, medium, tough? What according to you is like the difficulty level? And like, if you found it complex, what was complex in this one? Quickly in the chat. Okay, Aishwarya found it very tough. Okay, I saved the toughest one for the last, I guess. Yeah. There are more questions I had, but I would not be able to do them. So this is definitely a 750 level question. Not just because it's tough, it's also a lot more trickier. It's very easy to fall into a trap. Dipanjan says medium if I'm correct. If not, then very difficult. Okay, nice point, Dipanjan. As if this whole question was complex. Cases need to be made carefully, Vikram. Good point, Vikram. That's nice. You have to be very careful while making cases. Good. So this is a typical question of double counting, and then I just want to make sure that you understand the idea of double counting before that. That's why I'm just doing this question and not the other ones. So, what does double counting mean? Double counting is a phenomena which happens if you consider, if you kind of count, if you select two entities from a group multiple times one by one and not do it at once. For example, if you remember, we selected, like, there were three people ABC and we selected two out of them one by one. Okay, we selected one person first in three ways, we selected a second person in two ways, but in that case we were in a way doing an arrangement, so we had to divide by two. Okay, you remember that part? Quick yes no, guys, just want to make sure you remember, you are able to recall it. Three people we discussed ABC, we had to select two of them. We were selecting them one by one. First we selected one person A, then we selected the other person. When we were doing that, we basically got six ways of doing it, but we inherently did a arrangement between them. So do you remember that part? We discussed this almost half an hour back. Cool. So I see most of you remember it. Okay, great, great, great. So we're going to use it. Okay, so whenever you basically select multiple people from the same group, okay, one by one, you are kind of doing arrangement. So you are basically counting the same case two times or more. Okay, so Aishwarya, I will take up your question in the Q&A part of the webinar. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Okay, so that is something we have to keep in mind. So let's take this case. So let's solve this question. So what we know is there are three different sections in the test: section 1, section 2, section 3. Total number of questions in each section is 5. Okay, and these 5 questions are there. So total of 15 questions are there, maybe. Okay, and what we also know is minimum 2 questions need to be attempted. So minimum question count is 2 from each section. Okay, so that is what you are supposed to do. But there is a catch. A total number of 8 questions are supposed to be attempted. So obviously, if the total number of 8 questions are supposed to be attempted, there are 2 more questions that I need to attempt. Okay, and I'll first tell you how most people solve it and how I solved it when I solved it for the first time. And then I'll talk about what is the mistake with this. So what most people do is they say that, okay, I have to select 2 questions from S1, which can be done in 5C2 ways, select 2 questions from S2, which can be done in 5C2 ways, and this can also be done in 5C2 ways. So if I do this, I'm done with 6 questions. And total of 15 questions are there, So I am left with 9 questions and I have to solve 2 of them. So I can select these 2 questions in 9C two ways. Okay, they take this scenario and they end up with choice A, which is 36,000. Okay, but this is incorrect. Choice A is the incorrect answer. Okay, and let me tell you why it is incorrect. Think of it this way. When I'm selecting 2 questions out, and just focus on section 1. Okay, when I'm selecting 2 questions out of 5, I'm selecting it from section 1. Now in the end, when I'm selecting from the leftover questions, these questions also include questions from section 1. So inevitably, I am selecting from the same group, which is section 1. There are 5 questions there. I'm selecting from the same group 2 times. First, in the first go, I'm selecting minimum of the 2 questions, minimum number of questions, and then I might be selecting some questions additionally as well. I might be selecting them. So I am selecting a certain number of questions from the same group 2 different times. So inevitably, I am considering an arrangement. Is that part clear to all of you? Quick yes, no here. I just want to make sure this is clear to all of you. If it is not, I'll get into more details. I'll take an example. Okay. As I expected, it's a little complex. So most of you are saying it's not clear. Let me make it simplified. Okay, let me simplify it further for you. Okay, so let's take the 5 questions in like section 1 itself. Let's remove all this. Okay, let's say the 5 questions in section 1 are these. Okay, so let's say first time, and I've removed the poll. Don't worry about it. I'm making it clear. I knew it was complex, so please be with me here. So let's say section 5 has this questions: question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I'm selecting 2 questions to meet my minimum criteria, let's say I'm selecting these 2, Q1 and Q2. This is my first selection. Okay, what does it mean? What it means is this questions, question 3, 4, 5, okay, they go to the leftover quota. Okay, now I'm selecting 2 questions on this quota as well. Okay, so it is possible that I might as well end up getting Q3 and Q4. I might end up picking Q3 and Q4 here. Okay, so this is one scenario. This is considered one different scenario. One unique scenario is what I will say. Okay, now think about it. When I'm doing the first selection, it is likely that instead of selecting Q1 and Q2, I might also select Q3 and Q4. That is possible, right? This is possible. Now, if I select Q3 and Q4, what I'm getting over here is Q1, Q2, and Q5. Now, it is possible from the leftover quota when I'm selecting 2 questions, I might end up selecting Q1 and Q2. This is another unique scenario according to this case because I'm doing selections multiple times. But if you look at the number of questions that I've attempted, the kind of questions that I've attempted, I have attempted the same 4 questions, but they are counted 2 times here. And why is it counted 2 times? Because I'm using the same group of questions. S1 is the same group of questions. I'm using the same group and I'm selecting 2 different times from it. First I'm selecting 2 questions, then I'm again selecting some questions. It might be 1 or 2. And that's why the arrangement is happening. Okay. And now tell me, is it clear to you why the double counting is happening? Why the double counting is happening? Is it now clear to you? Quick yes, no? And I would request everyone to participate. I just want to make sure that you have understood it well. This is a complex concept. Trust me, guys. In the first time, it was tough for me to understand as well. So don't mind. But please tell me whether you understood it or not. Because trust me, in permutation combination, it's not just about enough to know what is right. You also need to know why the wrong thing is wrong. Because then only you will be able to make justice to the questions. Okay. So I see that most of the batch is clear. Some of you are still not clear with it. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this part very quickly once again. Okay, So like be with me here when I'm explaining this. So I'm just focusing on, remember, I'm just focusing on the first section. There are 5 questions in the first section. Okay. I am selecting first 2 minimum questions from it. That could be Q1 and Q2. So this is my first selection on the left side, and the right side I have my second selection. So if I select Q1 and Q2, Q3 and Q4 are leftover. They go to the leftover quota. When I'm selecting 2 questions from the leftover quota, there is a chance that Q3 and Q4 both can come in that. So this is one unique selection according to the case, right? Because first I'm selecting 2 questions from the quota of 5, and then I'm selecting 2 questions from the quota of 9. However, imagine a scenario that in the first selection you ended up selecting Q3 and Q4. In that case, in the leftover quota, you will have Q1 and Q2. You won't have Q3 and Q4. You will have Q1 and Q2 and Q5. So it is possible then when you are selecting questions from the leftover quota, you might end up selecting Q1 and Q2. And this is also a unique selection. But if you look at the questions that you have attempted the same questions. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. There's no difference here. Okay. So what has happened? You have basically double counted the thing. You have kind of arranged the things yourself. Okay. Good. Can you now change your votes if you want to? Like, can I see more yeses now in the poll? And let me reset the poll if you want to. So can you tell me, is it clear now? Quick yes, no? I just want to make sure I'm at a higher percentage than 70% this time. Okay. Cool. Seems everyone is clear with it. I'm really happy. This is a complex topic. But see, once you understand this aspect, you won't repeat this mistake. So what I mean to say is whenever you select multiple entities, when you are selecting multiple entities from the same group, do it once, don't do it twice. Okay. And Benoit has a next question. So need to divide by 2 for each group, so by 8. Not really, Benoit. It's not that easy. See, I have assumed that you will be taking up 2 questions from the leftover from the same group. That may or may not happen. You may be taking 1 question, you may be taking 2, you may not be taking any. So in such cases, you should not follow this approach at all. Your approach should be like this. You should focus on selecting from a group only once. Okay. So don't select from the same group multiple times, especially in this complex scenarios, because you may have to select 2 questions, 3 questions, 5 questions, whatever. Okay. So what you do is you create cases. Okay. So what we will do is we'll find out the total number of cases that are there. So there is first case which is possible is you may have a section from which you take 4 questions. You may have a section from which you take, from the other 2 sections you are taking 2 questions each. Okay, Dipanjan, you are correct. I understand the anxiety of knowing the answer. So E is the correct answer. And the second case that is possible is you may take 3 questions each from 2 sections, and you may take 2 questions from the another section, the last section. Okay, so let's do case 1 and case 2 one by one. Okay, so case 1, first thing is I don't know which is the section from which I will be taking 4 questions. It is possible that I may be taking 4 questions from S1, S2 or S3. Any one of this is possible. So first I have to select from which section I am taking the 4 questions. Okay, so to do that I have 3 ways of doing it, because I can select those 4 questions from section 1, section 2 or section 3. Once I know which section I'm taking those 4 questions from, I simply have to select those 4 questions in 5C4 ways. Then I have to select the rest of the 2 questions from the other 2 groups. When I'm doing this, I am selecting all questions that I'm supposed to select from a section at once, in one go. So I'm not doing any sort of double counting whatsoever. Similarly, for case 2, I have to first select from which section I am selecting 2 questions. Okay, so that I can do in 3 ways. I can select 2 questions from S1, S2 or S3. Then my job is pretty simple. I take 5C3, 5C3 and 5C2. Okay, Now I have a question. Atindra Pal is saying, why multiply by 3? Atindra, it is also important from which section are you selecting those 3 questions or 4 questions. That is important, right? I might have a scenario where I am selecting 4 questions from S1 or 4 questions from S2 and 4 questions from S3. Okay, another interesting observation. Shivani is saying, why not 2 to 4? Shivani, 2 to 4 is what is considered by 3. When I'm multiplying by 3, I'm considering 3 scenarios. I'm considering 4 to 2, I'm considering 2 4 2, I'm also considering 2 to 4. That's why I'm multiplying by 3, because I'm trying to fix which section will I take those 4 questions from, because all these 3 cases are different in their own regards. I hope you understood this now. Okay, so if you do this, you just have to add these 2 cases and you will end up with the right answer, which is choice E. And thankfully most of you did that. Most of you marked A or E. Some of you ended up marking B as well. Those who marked B simply did this. You took 15 questions, you selected 8 of them, but you did not take any constraint into account. So that was the mistake with B. Okay, I hope this question is clear to all of you guys. And this is, trust me guys, this is a 750 level question. It's not an easy question. Most of the people will make a mistake with this. Did you get it? Quick yes no guys. I'll consider this as a win if I have more than 80% people saying that okay, I got it, because this is a tough question. My friends, this is not that easy to solve. Okay, great. I'm so very happy to see the responses. I'm seeing that everyone got it clearly. Okay, good man. So I had a few more questions, but I sense it is very late. It's almost 2 hours 45 minutes. I'm ending the session here. So if I'm moving formally to the Q&A part of the session, where I'm gonna take up your questions if you have any regarding your GMAT prep or anything, or regarding PNC general questions. 10 more minutes I'm going to be with you. If you want to discuss anything with me after this call, you can always contact me on my email ID. I've provided it here. You can even send me a message on WhatsApp or call me on this number. These are my details. If you want to learn more such logical things, you want to understand this area of all these things, you can always go for a free trial of GMAT Okay, so the free trial is available on gmatviz.com. I'm sharing the link over here. You can definitely do that. And I would request you to please rate this session. There is a poll up. I would like to know how you find this session. It is going to help us a lot more. Okay, so I have a few questions. Tariq is asking, how long is the free trial? So free trial is limited by content, Tariq. Tariq, we have around 10% of our entire course in the free trial. It's not limited by days. Okay, so it is having a good enough sample of each area. Okay, just be happy to know that you found it helpful. Please feel free to post your questions here. And one more thing, this is the end of the month, so we are running a end of the month deal on our courses. We are offering our courses for the lowest possible price that we have offered till date, which is 219 USD. In INR it is like 15,990. So if you're looking at a personalized course, a very personalized logical course which uses consistent methodologies as I discussed today, you can always avail this offer. So this is valid till 1st of June. You can click on the link, you can check it out at your end. Okay, Tejasvi, you'll be receiving the recording of the webinar. Everyone who has registered for the webinar will receive the recording of the webinar, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, Dhruv is asking, does the trial version as test series? Dhruv, is as part of the trial version, you can take up some selected questions from our quizzing platform. Okay, Dipanjan is saying, sir, I'm actually a GRE student. Is this level enough for 170 level in PNC? Yes, Dipanjan, this is the last question that we solved is definitely a 170 level GRE question. And I'm not sure even in GRE if this kind of question will ever come. It's a very difficult question. Okay, Karishma is saying, are you going to take another session like this? So Karishma, I am most likely to take a session on sentence correction on the next weekend. So if you guys want to register for that, you can do it. Like I've just shared the link for the sentence correction webinar. You guys can register for it using this link as well. Okay, so feel free to do that. The webinar is on the next weekend. Most likely I'll take it or Sunita will take it. One of us will take it. It will be on sentence correction. Okay, good man. Okay, really happy to see your responses. thank you so much for rating this session. I'm really, really glad to see the ratings. Please feel free to post your questions. And Ashwarya, I'll take your question as well. Don't worry about that. Just a minute, guys. I'll just wait for a few more. For this, some of you were asking for the session PDF. You will also receive the session PDF. Look at Ashwarya's question. Difference between the following two cases. There are three different type of flowers. How many different type of bouquets can be if each bouquet has two type of flowers and five flowers of each type? There are three different type of flowers. How many different type of bouquets can we, if each bouquet has two flowers? Ashwada, I'll have to go through this question and solve it for you. So if you don't mind, please send it across to me on my email ID. I'll rather give you a more detailed response on it. Okay, that will help because like I have to take into account all the cases that you have talked about. So please send it over to me. Shoot me an email on this email ID. I'll get back to you on that. Okay, Shashwat is asking, I've solved almost all of his questions in the official GMAT guide, but I never came across such tough questions. Why is that? So, Shashwat, if you know this, probably the official guide has just around 10 to 15% questions which are 700 plus level. So, there is a high chance that you may not have some difficult questions in it. So, there is an advanced GMAT guide which they have released. In that, you can see more questions like this. Pooja is asking, where is the PDF? Pooja, you will get the PDF in your email along with the recording. So that's not a problem. Okay, because in the PDF, I'm going to add which are the right options as well. In the current PDF, I don't have it. So I'm not sharing it right now with you. Okay. Cool, guys. So I see almost all the questions are answered. Vikram is saying, please take a session on probability as well. Vikram, I intend to do that. Let's see, like whenever it's possible in the near future, we will do it. If you are there in our mailing list, you'll receive an email regarding that. Okay. Great, guys. So it was really nice to have you in the session. Uh, So, Dhruv, in the trial version, questions are of all difficulty levels. It is a mix of 700, 650. Basically, you get a customized quiz where you can take up any difficulty level as well. So, you'll get some questions of 700 plus level also in the trial version. Okay, so it was really great to have you here. I believe today some of you would have improved your understanding of permutation and combination. I'm really happy to have you here. I wanted the session to be done much sooner, but I kind of underestimated the complexity. Permutation combination is definitely a complex topic, but I'm sure you would have generated your learnings from the session. Make sure that you focus on implementing this approach. You learned a new approach, but it is important that you implement this approach in every single question that you solve. If you do that, you will get a strong grip over competition combination. Okay, so all the best, guys. You can avail the offer. This is there on our website. You can take out our course. It is very detailed. It follows the same thought process. It is built by us only, so you can do that at your end. I want to redirect you guys to our website. You can check out our product, check out the free trial if you want to, and have a good day, guys.